you doing? Not much. Everyone's trying to find me. Okay, so can we call the meeting to order? Okay. On Monday, today is today, 14th, the 14th at 4:30. So, I guess the first thing we have to do is the consent agenda. And,
Let's do the roll.
oh, the roll call first.
Chairperson Cindy Jones, Vice Chair Monica Carrasco,
Here.
Board Member Jacob McElroy,
Here.
Board Member Iris Ramos,
Here.
Board Member Dorothy Tason, alternate Board Member Nan Simpson, and alternate Board Member Terry Burnquist. Oh, Council Liaison Brentford.
One time, I had this kindergarten, the kids would go absent, no, I don't, they were going to say absent or something. Well, he's not here, he's absent. And, oh, that's what I said, he's not here, he's absent, and one of the kids goes, where is absent? Okay, so first we have to approve the minutes of the last meeting, so we can read them over real quickly. Anybody see any changes? Okay.
Right.
If someone want to make a motion to pass the minutes how they want.
I'll make a motion to, accept the minutes.
Then, roll call.
Vice Chair Raskin,
Yes.
Board Member McElroy,
Yes.
Board Member Ramos,
Yes.
Board Member Tason. Yes. And alternate Board Member Smith. Oh, I'm sorry, Thistle. Sorry.
Okay, so the item number 2 is the mayor is supposed to come. He is on his way, so I don't know what happened, but, you know, we could just stick down and just, you know, to number, 4, pros and cons of Arbor Day, and then we can go back to because the 3 and 5 are a lot harder, I think. So if we just talked about the pros and cons of Arbor Day, and then we'll go back up to 2 and after we finish that. So,
I think it's difficult, but that is for you to do, if you want to move on. The purchase.
well, my thought is that, yeah, I think that we should do it separately next time. I think that we just had to do it that way because we had to fit it in before the end of the year to get the tree certification. And I just didn't see that we could have 2 events of the same month. Well, 3 would have been 3, we calculated. But I think, and what is Arbor Day? What is the?
I think you actually are supposed to have it on that day in April.
In April.
I think you have to actually have it in April.
Let's Google
Arbor
Arbor Day.
Day, Tree City, USA.
Well, I think you can have it any time, but I think it would be nice to have it on Arbor Day. Let's see when Arbor Day.
Well,
I think it's November.
Right around here, like,
Arbor Day. Arbor Day 2023. It is, I'm on good day. April 28th. That's right on Earth Day, Friday, April 28th. But I think it's supposed to be celebrated in Israel. Yeah, but I think that's in November. Okay. That's, because it's easy.
And that almost makes more sense in November first year, because you plant trees and get up over, November. It's April, once you finish.
But, one thing that, I heard from my sister in the master naturalist, she said, there was so much and there was so much for the kids to do. It might be better in a smaller, like at the, Augusta Park, that's smaller, and that, the kids were more contained. And so the vendors and stuff that were there, they got more exposure too. I mean, these are just ideas I'm throwing out, that's all. But, she felt kind of like, I think some of the vendors were kind of off to the side like that. And there was so much excitement about being at the camp, which was wonderful. And I hope he does open it up more like that in 2 days. We told Jackie what we would be interested in doing this actually happens. But November 3rd. It's November 3rd, 2023. That's Texas Arbor Day. But I think, the fall, I think get people out in November. I think that after Halloween, that's right after Halloween. And then you're here enough for Thanksgiving and holiday. Right. I think that April is a better time for that birthday. I mean, just as far as having people come. So I just finished my master naturalist yesterday. Yes, I'm very happy. And one of the things that we discussed was the best time to plant a tree. It's in the fall. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of honoring what it's all about, and I think that it is better in November. So far we've heard that the venue might have been too big, and I kind of agree with that. It was quite, it was so much. I mean, you put kids in the middle of a park without a fence, and they're going to stay right there. But you give them a huge fence, and they go to the edge of the park. And so that's pretty much what we saw. People exploring the entire area and not really engaging, I guess, in some of the activities. We don't have to have it just child oriented either. If we're trying to get out trees, we can have it maybe in the triangle or something where you're getting trees and having a little educational kind of thing, and maybe having a few groups for kids. I don't think it doesn't have to be my understanding, and then I'm just heard this once or twice, but I think we just have to have an Arbor Day celebration. And I remember being told as simple as reading a book or something. We want to do a little bit more than that. But like how where you are, it's right where Brook Hollow. Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there. There's lots of ideas. Where would everybody park? No, that's the problem. Yeah. Oh, that triangle. Yeah, but if you're giving out trees and stuff, you drive by. You could almost, I've heard this idea, to close up that little, that road, I don't even know what you call it. I think that's called, it's actually still called Wood Creek, but I don't know what those people's addresses are on that part of that little thing there. Is it for Hollow? But you could close up that and have parking in there, possibly, and that's an idea. Because, then you have a lot of visibility of people driving by. I mean, these are just ideas, but, as I said, adults are going to be the most interested. I mean, you want the kids to learn about trees and stuff, but, I think for that might differ in giving out trees and each.
So there's also a small park, is it on Augusta Drive?
Yeah, we can do that, that's the park.
A bunch of,
Yes, we can do the Augusta Park too.
yeah, Augusta Park. I like the idea of simplifying it so it doesn't have all the children as much as I love children, but not making it so centered around the kids, but having more of an adult sort of presentation. Not that we don't have wine or anything like that, but that wouldn't hurt.
It never hurts to have, that's the word. But, I don't think we need to do that. I think that I know we don't have to make a decision right now, obviously, but, I think it can just be kind of an outdoor kind of educational festival type of thing.
This area maybe too congested or too dangerous, but the, entrance into the street on from 12, you would have parking available first,
Oh.
and then people could walk over.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right, and see how that's right.
And then parking wouldn't be an issue, and if it's parking is visible.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, I have
that.
done some of that reading at the entrance, and we couldn't talk to each other when we were there.
Oh, no.
The noise from the cars.
Isn't there a farmer's market there now?
There is. On the.
Yeah, it's growing. And I think it's really nice.
We skipped on, we just wanted to move on to.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I was called by the new editor of the Lumber Review, and so I said, yeah, we're gonna meet at 4, and Maureen said, well, the tree board meeting is at 4:30, and they're expecting an announcement. And I thought, oh, okay, so I called her back and said, can we meet earlier? And so I went down on the square, and I'm sorry, but when I get started talking about Wood Creek, it's hard for me to stop. And I looked down, and sorry.
We were just talking about Arbor Day next year, and it is right that we can do something smaller next year. We don't have it on, we don't.
You can do whatever you would like. In fact, I was listening to Coach on the radio this morning, and it said that in Texas, Arbor Day is in November. Anyway.
Right, November 3rd.
Yeah.
is a-
So we could very easily do something separate just for Arbor Day if we wanted to do that. That's entirely up to y'all.
Especially if we keep the designation of Tree City USA.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a specific event.
So y'all are just going through your visions and goals.
No. We're going to go back. We're going to back to number 2. So, does anybody else have anything else to say about Arbor Day celebration?
I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hot. But it was really wonderful. Everybody loved it, and it kept young today. I was,
And they want to do it. They want to do it and more.
Oh,
We still got to stick the sign.
they have other venues there. And just thinking about what was already said.
We're talking about the fact that it was so spread out.
Tighten it up.
Yeah, because a lot of vendors didn't get distribution all the way down
Right.
the sidewalk.
We need to put the vendors in the middle, which would be easy enough to do.
If we did it the same way, but we were talking too about maybe having a separate day.
We'll have a year to plan it. And yeah, it was, that was kind of let's just do it all. We had to have the Arbor Day.
Right.
Sort of, it was like, okay, it's easier doing 3 events
And I
in
think,
one, and
yeah, I understand.
3 separate events. But I was impressed with all your work. I was impressed with the turnout. I thought we did really well there. I was really impressed with staff. Everything that they did. But yeah, it was fun.
It was great. Yes, it was.
And I think I think also from the other perspective, for the National Night Out, I think it sort of drew attention away from National Night Out, and they would like to get, sort of that, that piece. So separating them might be even better.
Yeah, I think it'll be better. As I said, we just did it because we had to get it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will move on to number 2.
All right. So what's happened is, you probably already know, Cynthia has resigned as chair. So she is still a member of the committee, but she is no longer chair. So the one of the roles of the committee will be to elect a chair, right? So in addition, Cynthia said that she doesn't want to go off, but because of her personal commitment to her neighbors, she just likes to pull back a little bit. And I said, well, instead of going off entirely, how about if you just take one of the alternate positions, which means we need to clear an alternate position. So that is my job, and go before the council for me to say, okay, well, we would like, let's say, Terry, to go from alternate to voting member, full voting member. So and then I can appoint Cynthia in that vacant alternate role. So that's the way the shuffle would work. So I mean, if that's something that's agreeable to the committee, then your next role or your next thing would be to elect a chair of this group.
I'm a little confused. Are we going to elect you're going to appoint an alternate to replace, a regular member
Right.
to appoint, to replace him?
So,
Yes, or
so-
we're done?
right. So the committee can't move. I mean, if there's a vacancy on the whole committee, like right now, Terry's a voting member as an alternate, right? Because she's the 5th member. So so what we're saying is that if Terry moves from alternate position up to Cynthia's now vacant position on the board, and Cynthia moves from her position on the full board to the alternate position. So in other words, Terry and Cynthia swap roles. So Terry is the voting member, Cynthia is the alternate with Nan. And so you've still got your full board. And it doesn't really impact you, but it doesn't really impact any of the rest of you. So that's the way. It's kind of a shuffle, to help her out. And
So, because Terry's okay. Not that Terry is.
well, I mean, it's like she wouldn't have to. I mean, I guess the next thing would be, we need it for Cynthia to stay on the panel as an alternate. Then one of the alternates would have to either resign entirely and just go off the board entirely, or move up, to the full voting member of the.
So what action is required right now?
Right now, there's no. Well, the one action would be if Terry said, "Oh, I'd like to do that."
Oh, I'd like to do that.
Okay. So that's an answer. We have an applicant. We have an applicant for the open position, which will give us an open position. So basically, what I do with the council is say, okay, well, here's the situation with the tree board, and we can put this like on the next possible agenda. And so what we're asking to do is, since it's all dealing with alternates, that's me. It doesn't have to be a council member. I would request a nomination of Terry Bissett to move into a full voting member, and Cynthia Jones to be appointed as the alternate. That goes to a vote of the council, assuming they all think that that's a good idea. They say, yeah, bang, we bang the gavel, and that all's done. In the meantime, tonight, y'all's job now is to say between the five of you, or even Nan, really, for that matter. You could nominate Nan.
When she's not here.
Yeah. So that's what you get for not showing up for the meeting. But anyway, so that's your job right now is to select a person to replace Cynthia as chair. So you're basically swapping positions with her. So like for instance, if Dorothy, was nominated and voted in as chair, then Cynthia effectively, takes her place. So she hasn't resigned from the board; she resigned from the chairmanship. So then it's just a matter of shuffling Terry and Cynthia, as the council. So what you need now is nomination from the floor for a chair of the tree board.
I know, I nominate Iris. To be chairperson.
If I can.
I have a voice in this too.
You would have to say, yes, I'm willing to serve.
Talk about it, but you have to have a nomination.
So we've got a nomination in a second. So you have to have a nomination in a second, and now it's open for discussion.
Certainly, it'd be great on. I saw that the second, is it something you would be interested in?
Sure. I mean, I'd love to do it. I'm gonna need some help. And I love working with all of you, so this is terrific. Good. Yay, good. Yay. Thank you. Well, Jeff can help you out procedures.
Well, so can you, and so will Maureen.
I'll just come up to 250. I try to say design and very confident.
Yeah, we can have a separate meeting, and you and Monica and Maureen and staff, and we can sit down and sort of talk things. In fact, Kevin Rule, our new city manager, starts December 1st, and he'll be a big help to us.
Yeah.
So we just sort of talk about what the role is. It is leading the meeting. It's working with the board to come up with the agenda. So I'd like to talk about, okay, I'll put that on the agenda. Oh, I'd like to talk about it, okay, I'll put that on the agenda. So building the agenda. Maureen is like the queen, and is incredibly helpful in not only just building the agenda, getting into the software and making it happen, but also guiding the chairs through the process. She does brag on her on that. She does it. She sure helps me a lot. And I know she's been a big help to the chair.
And she got this. Very much.
She's got quite the experience in that. I mean, if you have any other stuff anybody else wants to talk, I mean, if you're willing to do it, then it would require a vote of the board to accept you as the chair.
Motion? We need a motion?
Right, you made.
No, the motion, yeah, you
did,
yeah.
okay.
The motion is
That just has to, yeah, all we have to do is, vote on it.
Okay. Board member Bissett?
Yes.
Board member Kingley?
Yes.
Board member Ramos?
Yes.
Board member McAlmont?
yes.
And Vice Chair Radcliffe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I love working with y'all. Oh, so we have a lot to do, I think, and it's gonna be great.
And even with the camera rolling, I know I'm not supposed to have favorites, but
Okay. So then the next thing we'll move on to number 3, review and discussions of vision and goals for the tree board. This is a big one. You don't have to take action, it's
Right.
just review and discuss. So, why don't we write down some, yeah.
May I make a suggestion? Why don't we just, openly brainstorm about what would be a good approach, and then work on details and really make it all happen and decide what we want to do the next year. Put that on the agenda. I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No.
Actually, you're the chair, you're running the meeting now.
Yeah.
So you're not interrupting, she's interrupting you.
Do you want this? No, I want one more time. I like that.
She wants one of those at home.
This is what I need with my grandkids. Anyway. Okay. So should we go around, we can go around and talk about what we think of our, visions and goals. You want to start, Terry?
I will. I think one of the first things we talked about is getting information out to property owners. I think that's real important. And, maybe discuss how we want to do that. I think everybody got the brochure. One at every house.
Yes.
That was now.
Yes.
I
Okay,
didn't get one.
I think I did.
It's in my stuff. Yeah. I think it came with all the, it came with, what else was in a newsletter? You had a newsletter, and it also had that sticker, that driving
Yeah,
sticker.
safe driving culture. Oh,
But the brochures that Cynthia had, they mailed out to everyone. I think that's education is a hard thing. I thought that, remember when we were here that, the city council and Robin from the watershed came and did her talk. Oh, and then we had Carl Flocky too, another night. Those were people that were experts, had slides that were with them. And it took a lot of stuff that never had planted in my head, so to say. It gave it, it really put it in the right order. That, if we could get people to something like that could, be a nice educational thing. I don't know if you would do, like the lectures here and just reconfigure this room so people could see that screen right there. And have invite them 2 separate times and just try to get residents that way. I think, that's an idea.
So what if we were also maybe to gather the specific information and then plan on how to disseminate it into the community? I mean, there are many other options too. We could have important speakers like that. Carl Flocky taught a class on trees, and he's amazing.
Yes.
He's amazing. So, but we could also have things like information tables, occasionally, or talk, go to schools, maybe talk to kids. I mean, there are different things we can do.
I think that if we want to focus on Wood Creek, I mean, the kids, they do a lot of, these kids at Beluco, I know they know all about water recycling and stuff because they have it in their school and they've done it. I know that my grandkids know about it. But to me, I think that what we really need to focus on in Wood Creek is Oak Grove. And educating people on Oak Grove to begin with. And, I criticized that brochure when Jeff said they're sending it out because it was so thick, there was so much in it. I think you're only going to get people with bullet points in the beginning. And the thing that really is going to take people, I think, from my opinion, is going to get people who don't know much about trees invested in it is when we tell them it's going to cost them less because they're sick tree treated than to have a tree that's diseased removed. Because, most people, it's the bottom line. It's like Pat Rawlings sat here that night and he said, I went up to 2 or 3 three people, I think he had, three examples. And he said, I'm talking to you about your trees, you know, he took it on himself. And one person said, well, we're on vacation, we don't have any more money. Another person said, we have kids in college, there's no way we can do that. And I understand being there before I knew anything about trees and about oak wilt. That would have been my response too if someone knocked on my front door.
Can I add something on the same time? The other thing that we're trying to get information out on is the Oak Wilt Assistance Program. We set aside money to help people if they need it. So there's an application form, so that would be a logical piece of mail to go out. Is something that has like the application or information about applying, or if not mail, at least here's how to get the form. So we're gonna want to be pushing that. So that's something that can be on your minds.
Yeah. So you said there was a new editor to you.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
Her name is Maddie Teshaw. It's actually M-A-D-I, I'm sorry, T-E-L-S-C-H-O-W, Telshaw. Maddie Telshaw.
Is that Maureen?
No.
I've got her.
Okay. Can I still that again? Or maybe,
It's M-A-D-I,
okay.
Telshaw, C-H-O-W. She's been editor of the Dripping Springs paper, and is interim editor here. She's trying to get the job to edit both newspapers, which is something that Dalton has done as well.
So was he?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Well, Carl Flossie is so good, and if Wood Creek is thinking of hiring an arborist just part-time, if those people with the meeting, Carl Flossie, was saying Wood Creek is invested in this, and so much that they were willing to put up money towards, hiring a part-time arborist. And I think with his presentation, when he zeroed in on some places that really were hit with Oakville, and then with the assistance program, it's all kind of brought together. The assistance program is great, but it can also get, kind of carried away with all the needs of people. So I guess I don't understand how much would be given to.
Yeah, that's a good question. How much would, if I had a tree and I said I didn't have the money, you're to prove that you don't have the money? How does that work?
There's limits to the amount that you can get it. Like, we want to be able to give them, I think, about $600.
And is any citizen
to match it.
of Wood Creek eligible to apply?
So basically, if you have to remove a tree and replace it, then you do that, and then you apply, and then we reimburse you up to $600 of that. So it pays for the tree, not for the planting, and it's not going to pay for dirt and digging a hole. And we can get more detail on it. It's still being finalized at the council level, but that'll be on the books. And it's a nice program. I mean, we approved it at council like over a year ago. Something that was actually something that Judy Brizendine put forward. And so, so we had, okay, we're gonna set aside money, but there was no plan in place for how people would get it.
Oh.
So this puts the plan in place for how people would actually apply for and receive that reimbursement.
But it wouldn't hurt to come up with some kind of like a postcard, and the front would have a picture of a tree with oak wilt. And do you have anything or something?
Mm.
And then on the back, just have a few points about it. Some quick points. And that the city will, there is some financial support as that develops. And I think that could, people might look at that more than they're gonna look at a brochure that's detailed, because I know myself, I set that brochure aside for a while, but I just sit there and read it. And, you know, the average person doesn't, you know, they have a million things going on.
The cost of prevention and then the cost of removal.
Yes, that would have to, that would be a great thing to have on there, because neither one is inexpensive, but, to know that if you deal with it first, it's gonna cost you less. You might put it closer to the top of your list.
And the repercussions of losing it in the one.
The value of your home, yeah, so education is a big part. Just, I mean, we can do all those things. I mean, even do postcards, you got, try to have people come and attend some lectures. I mean, there's a lot of things that, because it takes a little while to get to understand all of it. So we have one vision. You know, educate people about Oakville, that is enough of a vision. That's a big one. That is a big one. But, I mean, that's just one piece of this, right? I mean, our mandate is to protect the trees according to our charter, our application. So, and I don't mean to disturb what you were saying. I think we can pursue all these really good ideas. And I would just also throw out, I'd like to think about maybe writing regular articles that go in the Willow Review about Oakville and that go into the newspaper. And it could be about the assistance program at one point, and, you know, just two regular. I think that would be great, because people can only take in information at little bits, and that'd be great. And Chris Drummond is very good about posting on Nextdoor and Liberty United too, so that they're going out to a broader, not just people that subscribe.
And we'll have a city social media presence then too.
Yeah. So another thing is, you know, how are we going to protect our trees? I mean, getting an arborist is one, and education is important. We have other ideas. I mean, we don't have to have any other ideas right now. But
Well, I think your point is great that there are more trees than oaks. You know, we have heritage and protected trees that are cedar elms and others that are not those, and those need protection and you know, care as well. It's just that oak wilt is it's so devastating.
so, Ron, I think it needs to be emphasized, definitely.
So one of the questions that I think we talked about is, okay, so y'all spent a huge amount of time going in and surveying the city trees, you know, all the city properties, and made the inventory of city trees. So, you know, one of the things would be, well, okay, so one of our goals might be, okay, well, what do we do with that list? You know, where does that go? And your charge is not to inventory every tree in town, but, you know, based on what you've learned from inventorying the city trees, that might be part of the education about inventorying your own trees on your own property, and understanding the best way to manage your own canopy. And if everybody did a better job of that, then, you know, we'd solve some of the.
That's good.
We could also send sort of the following up with what you were saying, the building on that. You could send something like a little survey out to people and maybe even put postage paid on it, but they could send it back and let us know what their needs are, what their trees, their local needs are. And with that, we can decide if we need to get our gloves and go, you know, with Jacob or something, you know. Or we could just have surgery.
No, December 1st, so about a month away.
We're not
Little
really
bit.
patched, but I didn't see.
Yeah, I was working out in the garage and saw the clock and went through. So, no time for the patch. But yeah, no, y'all are discussing great stuff. I mean, I would like to see what we can do with actual local city trees, maybe street side, right-of-way trees. I know right across the street from my house, there's some dead ash trees. And I believe they're in the right-of-way, but they're also on golf course property. And I noticed a bunch of that all over town, whether it's in the median or just right off of the road. So I would like to see that be addressed at some point. Also, what we can do with our trees within the Oakville area and treating those and doing some work on those. Discuss who we're gonna contract, whether it's Ostex or Paula or who, and just kind of get that in a direction.
Yeah, that's number 5.
Is it really?
Yeah,
It sure is.
we discussed and take appropriate action. Our concern.
One of the, and one of the things that I was instructed to do by council was to negotiate with the golf course.
That'd be great.
On and go to the golf course with checkbook in hand. And how do we work together to take care of the problem? But it's like that property. I mean, those they make up the majority of the trees that have problems, and that's where the biggest problems are. And it's going to be an expensive program, but my charge is to go to the new owners and say we need to work together. It's in everybody's best interest. So I have a mandate. So we'll be looking at that sort of from the inside out, and then with what we've already done on the city tree inventory, and taking a look at that. And I mean, when I completed the Tree City USA application, one of the questions was how much money do you spend on pruning of your street, of your city? I'm like, pruning? Does that count? I mean, does trimming the right of way count? But that was actually a question too, is how much you have budgeted in right of way trimming. So so we don't have anything. I mean, to my knowledge, we've never really done any much, if any, pruning, shaping, or working
Not
with
shaping, but certainly we trimmed them.
Yeah, mostly it's like trimming the dead wood, but
Just trimming them to a height to get the trucks through.
right.
That's just me, city ordinance.
Yeah, but as far as taking trees like a tree that's at a Augusta Park, for instance,
Right.
that's not in the right of way, but it's on property, and hey, it needs a little cleaning up, and so we need to bring it over, not to remove it, but to clean it up. I mean, just to-
Right.
Yeah.
There's deadwood back too. Potentially hurt someone, and I don't know if someone got hurt on
Oh, city property, you're right.
city property.
We don't-
Branch fell on them, yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that was a catalyst in us removing some of the city trees, some of the trees that were in the city right away.
Mhm.
It's like they're hazards. In our own interest, our own self-interest, we need to get rid of the street before they fall on somebody and hurt them. So we took it. How many did we take? 6? 8. So we had 8 of those dead trees were on city property were removed, but they're still. So I think that would be a good goal vision, to sort of expand on our inventory and take action on some of the ones that were identified as needing help, and go ahead and do that. And having an arborist on staff will help with that, but it's not a requirement.
Now,
I'd like to make a suggestion. No, I'm not having taken a seat yet. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I want to work with people, not against people. But I'd really like to know who is doing the work on the trees right now. And when you said pruning, I thought, oh my God, that's such a big art. And you said pruning. Who's pruning? And it seems like that is something
that would be important to know who is doing the actual work with the trees. We've got a survey, we're gonna say there's some at this park over here, and it needs some help. Well, how do we connect with those people, with these?
Individual property owners?
No. City staff. The person
Oh.
who's doing the company is Apex, isn't it? Who-
Well, no, they won the bid for that particular group of trees.
For removing the trees.
Right, they're
They
not,
didn't trim any
So,
trees.
Every
Other than
contract is
trim
open
the-
to bid, and anyone's allowed to bid on it.
right, so the difference, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is it discussed through city council who wins the bid, or?
It's a budget item, I mean, so basically it comes into, if it's within a certain parameter, then, you know, I can make the decision, or the city manager can make the decision. If it's above that, then the council would approve it. So in this case, the council approved us spending up to $5,000 for the removal of hazardous trees from city right of way.
Now, but then I think what Iris may be asking also is the people that come around and they cut the trees so that that trucks can get through. Do we use the same people every year, or is
It's
it
bid
kind of
every year.
split out?
It's good. Are we-
Now, one thing that we discussed when we were talking about hiring a part-time city arborist, it was also suggested that we, you know, work on a contract for a city, like we have a franchise agreement with, you know, the water utility. We have basically a franchise agreement with a tree company under the supervision of our city arborist, that could go out and do work on city trees without having to go out and get a bid every time, you know, 3 bids every time that we need to get some work.
Should we just move on to number 5, since everybody is talking about Norbert? So this was the last one for the vision thing that I mentioned. That I agree with you. And I'm also going to propose that we set a time limit at the meeting when we see the agenda, just how much time we'll spend on each item going forward, just so that we can be a little bit more structured, and maybe a little to be done.
Pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
they should do city council meetings 3 or 4 hours the other night.
If you just keep me out of the meeting, you can get out of here in 15 minutes.
So my idea about, who is taking care of those trees? So I've learned the right way and the wrong way to prune a tree. And it seems like, I mean, if we've got a bid with somebody, I think it'd be good for the tree board to know who's bidding out trees. You know, who's gonna be involved in the trees. And I guess I'm saying that it'd be nice for us to have that sort of information, not controlled by any
You
means,
should have some say in that.
just that we have that, so that maybe our arborist could then also make sure that it's being done properly. Because if you do it in the wrong way, it can damage the tree more than it can help it.
Right.
Forever. And, so that was number 5.
Okay, so now we'll just move on to, number 5, review, discuss, and take action on a recommendation of the city council for a request for proposal to hire a part-time city arborist. And my understanding, and you can correct me, Jeff, if I'm wrong, is that what they want is, someone, when it's part-time, it's someone that they have the same person that they call. There's one person, you know, they're not on salary every month, but but the arborist is the same person that you call every time that the city has a problem, so that way there's more consistency to what we're doing, what the city is doing, correct?
Correct, no, exactly correct. It's just like now, Sean Rawlings is basically our, you know, contract. help. You know, so if we need almost anything done, you know, Sean's here. I mean, he's under contract. We don't go out for bid every time we need a pothole patch. And we have, like even, you know, picking up, unfortunately, you know, picking up dead deer is one of the jobs around here. we have somebody that we call. We don't go out for bid every time somebody reports right here. So by having an arborist has been vetted, and I would hope that you would want to take a look at that and review those contracts as we get those in and help make that decision. I think that's appropriate. But we select the members, and they are contracted to us, to be on call and to have, there'll be some, I don't know that you want them sitting in on these meetings and pay their hourly rate to sit on the meeting, but they may volunteer to come and be a part of this group. So we don't know. It sort of depends on who it is and what kind of commitment they have to us. But that interview process is going to be pretty important. Yeah.
But then they would be paid an hourly wage.
Right.
Right, and they'd be on call.
Right.
Mhm.
And so there'd be one person that they do that. So I have no idea how to start this. Jacob, you must be the one that can help us begin it. Now, is this somebody that's a certified arborist? Mm-hmm.
By definition, yes.
So in the pack at the last page is recommendations.
Oh, I read that over, but I don't remember. That was a few days ago. Oh, yeah, they need to have that.
Yeah, these are good questions.
So this is, do we need an oak growth specialist, but also somebody who can respond to just private property owners?
So that is one of the fundamental questions is, are we asking the city arborists to only assist with city trees? And if a private citizen requests support, is there a mechanism for them to go and look at trees on private property and make recommendations or bid on the project itself? So that would not be city income. The arborist would be in a unique position
To get contracts.
to win contracts. So that's something that has to be considered. But if a citizen says, I don't know, I need an arborist, to check this out. Would the city go, yeah, let's send Nancy out there to look at it. And so that's something that we have to decide, what's appropriate and what's not.
It seems like it would be a conflict of interest.
It could very easily be a conflict.
So what if the arborist that we contract with was asked to build a referral network of different arborists
The
that
city can't recommend people. The city can't influence the decision to hire someone.
not even with a written list?
Right. So like, for instance, I would love it if we could just have, on our website, here's a list of certified arborists that we know of, that we've vetted and know of. We can't really do that. We can say, here's a list of companies in town, that, have Wood Creek addresses that operate, whatever business they run. If we, I don't know if it's still on the website or not, actually, about, local businesses. We had, there's a liquor store, here's their address. There's a golf course, here's their address. So, if there was a certified oak specialist that, was based in Wood Creek, they're their address, but I don't think we have it. So that would be a difficult thing to do, but a city arborist could have a recommended course of action for selecting an arborist or selecting a tree company. Um, you know, hey, you need that, Google this, right? And they could provide that kind of support. Um, but it would have to, I mean, it's something that it's kind of a slippery slope. And we just have to sort of look at that and say, what's the best case scenario? How can we handle this in the best way that protects the city from.
So, this city arborist, would property owners be able to contract with them to do work?
That's the question. That's one of the fundamental questions. Would they be able to, but like for instance, there's a similar area so that if a developer comes into town and wants to subdivide a property, and there's engineering work to be done, and we send our city engineer out to check their work, or do so, well, the city engineer bills us for that, and we pass that through to the developer with an upcharge, right? So the engineer is making money. Our hired engineer is making money off of that deal. But we're recouping some of the money. We're recouping the fees, and then getting some money back. So same thing with our city attorney. If the city attorney is doing work on a project, and is billable ultimately to the developer or the other party, we can pass that attorney's fees on to that party with an upcharge of 10%, right?
10%.
Something like that. So I mean, that could be the model that, okay, so yes, you can, if you accept the job, you charge the city or it's upcharged, and so the city, makes their 10%, everybody's happy. So there could be something, we'd have to talk to the city attorney. If the tree board said, no, that's a great idea, we want to be able to provide that service to our citizens, and it's the easiest way to do it, but is there a legal way to pull this off? So if that's what you all decide you want to do based on these parameters, then we can look into the options for that.
I think too, if the arborist is out there and a citizen approaches him, or her, it could be to Wood Creek's benefit. Some people would maybe be too lazy to go and search for an arborist, right away. So it could be advantageous to Wood Creek to do something like that. And if you have a captive audience, that there's a person interested in hiring someone, then it may be faster.
Right. You can make the argument that, the arborist is a member of the staff. And so you're actually hiring the city to do work. And then that, the arborist bills the city for the work, the city bills the citizen for the work. So it has to, so that is a model that, may be feasible if we decide to go that.
So, I'm still a little concerned about conflict of interest and the legal ramifications of doing something like that, although it would be helpful, to have somebody immediately there. So looking at the jobs that were identified, the first 3 jobs, then it seems to me that whoever we contract with has to agree. That sounds really strong. There are different ways to approach it. We could say, yes, you could take referrals, but here's some guidelines, and you have to do all these things. Or we could consider having a separate person, like a consultant, that works a few hours a week, who would be available just to the city owners, specifically for tree concerns, so that the arborist wouldn't get caught in the middle of that, and neither would the city. We would just be expressing well, like the city engineer that you were talking about could go and look at it, and this person could go and do that, the consultant, and say, well, this is what I think you need. Then you can talk to blah, 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 or there is a list at the city office of potential arborists.
Yes, so the city arborist could very easily work in that role, where, the citizen over there on Brook Hollow, has a question about the tree. And the city arborist can go look at that tree and say, here's my assessment. That's no different than, Maureen going to look at a job site and saying, you need to do this to help on your impervious cover, right? So there's no difference in that. It's a staff member going out, answering a citizen question and providing support. The line you cross is when you say, and I can have that tree removed for you.
So that's what has to be eliminated,
Right,
is not a possibility.
right.
So
It can't be a sales call, it can be informational. Now, what is the mechanism now by which the citizen, does the recommendation of the arborist? So, and that's,
Well,
that's,
so if the citizen said, can you do that for me? What would be the problem? What would be the city arborist?
well, the city arborist can say, well, the city can do the work for you, under my supervision.
And then they get enough charge.
And then, yeah, and the city bills them for the, like right now, if somebody, doesn't do work that they need to have done on their trees, and they've been asked to do it, and they just don't, the city has the right, the city can go on their property, remove those trees, do whatever the work is, do the work, and then bill the client, or bill the citizen for the work that has been done. So if it's
But we haven't done that.
we have not, but
That's what-
we're looking at it now.
He's objecting to in this letter. In this-
So it seems that, back to the job we're trying to do today, in terms of reviewing, making recommendations for the arborist, and I think having that kind of position where the arborist can do city trees and public trees, I guess,
Mhm.
and then consult with property owners on hiring the city to do work if they need it. But I think that contractors are gonna have to have a clear understanding that they cannot take a job. Just to be really, really clear at that particular juncture.
Right, that would be part of the RFP, those caveats. Here's what we're looking for, you need to have these qualifications. There would be or not a ban, but I mean, you can't use it to solicit business, from the citizens. But you can assist the citizens in getting the work performed that needs to be done. And how we craft that, just what that mechanism is, we do need to run by the city attorney. So whatever we think the best option is, we'll run that by the city attorney and just make sure that it's, that it's fair for all. But I mean, our goal, talking about goals and visions, our goal is to help our citizens, keep the canopy in shape. And, whatever we can do to help them, we need to look at. And part of the deal with the tree ordinance is if you're gonna do that, you need a certified arborist. You can do that on your own. Or if you need the city support, we can send our city arborist staff to help. But I mean, it could be just a consult. I know that Jacob was very generous with his time and went out and took a look at a tree that was in question, that was in the city right of course. So, and he said, okay, that's a dangerous tree. And so that was enough. Well, if it was on private property instead of city property, what would he have been able to do? Yeah, it's a dangerous tree, it's gotta go. But he's not about to say, and I can do it for you, right? So that's where this person needs to you know, be sure to draw a line. It, you know, I can't take the contract, but, you know, I can help you, you know, make sure the process is good and meets the city's goals and yours. You know, so it's tricky, but I think it's doable.
You think an arborist will understand what you want?
Well, Jacob can tell you about, you know, there are municipal arborists. I mean, that's their specialty.
So we're
Yes.
looking, yeah, that was brought out in the meeting. I forgot about that in the city council meeting. They're looking for a municipal, that's a good way to put it, a municipal arborist.
Yeah, so there's another certification of municipal specialist. I don't know anyone in our area that has one. I don't have it. But there's tons of liability in a city arborist taking on and looking at privately owned trees, even in the recommendations. So it says they need to have their own insurance, but an added insurance policy, or in addition to that policy, would be errors and omissions.
Mhm.
So if they give bad advice, they're covered. Because if they give bad advice and they're not covered, that could put the city at
Right,
liable.
Right.
right.
So
I mean, the best possible scenario
gotta
is
cover.
Carl Flocky says, "Oh, I'll do it," because he's a he's a state employee, you know. So yeah, I'll go ahead and give everybody, and he will do it. I mean, that's part of their deal. If he's got the time, you know, he'll go ahead and check your tree, you know. But you know, he's a busy guy, you know. So.
And also, if the city arborist goes out to people, if he's not being paid, if there are a lot of citizens who are asking for his opinion, and there's no chance of him getting the work, how willing is that city arborist going to be in going out and just saying, oh, I'm just doing this?
Will he be paid by the hour from?
Yeah.
the
But
city?
that's a really good question. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
a city arborist, you know, being paid by the hour, there's not a whole lot of incentive,
Right.
you know, there really isn't. So in order to provide incentive, you know, then, you know, what does that look like? You know, either that or the rate of pay for the arborist will be extraordinary, you know, because they've got to make it worth their while.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna run around for $20 an hour and look at trees with no hope of getting anything out of it besides $20 an hour. But they can make a lot more than that cutting down trees.
Yeah, so I mean, that is, so yeah, can we find anybody to do it without the incentive that they can have extra jobs from it?
Yeah, and it's like,
So we're just kind of going in a circle here. I mean, how do we move out of this circle and move forward? I mean.
well, the way, I mean, one way to do it is to say, okay, well, let's see if we can get some of Bud's time, the city attorney's time, to, you know, look at the concept. Okay, here's what we're grappling with. You know, is there a, you know, legitimate, proven way of doing this to where the city and the arborist are protected, and the citizens get what they need? Because the citizens can always, I mean, they can always do this on their own, right? I mean, they can totally, you know, get on the phone or get on Google and call a certified arborist and take care of all of this on their own. This is for people who, you know, like, not what I want to do. I mean, if the city has an arborist, I'm willing to pay them and the city to help me with this work. And so it's a service that we provide for a fee. You know, like a permit. You know, it's like, yeah, we'll maybe we can do that. So
But we do want a city arborist for the city trees.
right,
So
exactly.
it sounds to me like maybe would Bud consider coming to our next meeting and we could ask some questions of him Because right now, we don't have enough information to move forward with.
Who is that?
He's the
Our city attorney.
Okay, he's the city attorney, I'm
Um,
sorry.
I'm sure Bud would be more than willing, just know that for him to come out here and talk to you, it's probably about $800.
Oh, so it seems like we could just talk amongst ourselves and then you could take this information.
That's what I'm trying to do, say, but I need an hour of your time to just do a little research on that and give us an answer. Based on the conversation that we've had.
Is there, it seems like when you, Dorothy, mentioned, I got this vision of hundreds of people calling and saying, I want to talk to the city office, today. And I panicked, what taxpayer dollars, that kind of thing, a little selfish, I guess. But, and protective of our arborists at the same time. So, Maureen, is there you are a big screener, aren't you, of phone calls?
Oh, we don't have that many phone calls.
Except people like me calling and saying, where is this street?
But can I just say something? So the council is asking the tree board to give either write a request for a proposal or to get one together. So that then the request for proposal would then go out to all the local companies, and it would be published on the website and it would be published in the newspaper that we're accepting proposals for the city arborist job. So it's pretty specific what we want to look for. Does that help?
Yeah, the library does that, every year for their cleaning service and their handyman. And
Right, so that's what they're asking.
So you
the
might,
board to do, and then come back to the council and take a look at
so
it.
what y'all might want to do is just like, you go on Google and search on request for proposal city arborist. But we're not the only ones that have done this. So there are, I'm sure, requests for proposals that have been written up by numerous municipalities around the country, looking for a city arborist, and just pull a couple of those and get some ideas, and then we'll craft the version that goes out, right, Maureen?
Well, I think the
Logical.
tree board would come up with it.
Yeah, I've also been just trying to clarify how we would work with this particular issue of boundaries, city boundaries versus private boundaries. So, but that's a really good statement.
And then we could, if we have questions from that, we can get those directly from us.
Okay, so is not taking your job away from.
No, please do.
Is there anybody who would be willing to Google request for city arborist proposals and check it out? Or check different cities, say in Texas.
I'm doing that right now, so I'm just gonna.
Right now, you're high.
What's the pay?
Support with that? Do you want somebody else?
Well, let me, spend the day on it and
Do you have a phone number? Do you have each other's phone number?
I'm pretty sure I have.
Remember, if you say your phone number out
Right.
loud, it's recorded
Being
and
recorded
shared
and will be on the
I mean,
website.
to the world.
Yes. So.
I don't know.
And
We'll
then
talk.
if, it could only be 2 people.
Yes.
But it's something that I can help with too. I don't count against you, so.
Well, so if you form a subcommittee to work on something,
Mhm.
that could only be 2 people because of quorum issues.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be another.
2 people on the council.
Two
Two
people
people on
of the
board.
board.
Or 2 people on the phone.
So any 2 of you could get together, but then you could bring in 27 other, citizens if you wanted to.
Board members. Yeah.
But you couldn't have more than 2 board members.
To search for an RFP for an
Well, it's kind of form a subcommittee to.
Okay, so then if we had
of it, what would we do in terms of this, the civics? Of the time, clear guidelines for the city arborist role regarding citizen interactions and public interactions or public responsibilities for trees. So I guess once we have, like you said, if we have some proposals and we can start filling in what we think needs to happen and make a suggestion to the board. But, excuse me, but
No, that's exactly what I'll do. We might get all kinds of good ideas, come up with a couple of really good proposals from, from a web search. Pick out the stuff that make the best sense, come back together, and put it together. Like I said, Terry, I'm more than willing to help, or we can, grab Monica and the three of us and sit down and
that's good.
have a glass of wine or something and
And then,
talk RFPs.
Okay, so that was number 5. I'm wondering, not as a number 6, but as by A, B, C, and D, if there are any specific items that we want on the agenda for next time.
I have concerns about this, and I can't. So I'll bring it up with you after. I can't articulate it right now. I'll show this to you, and I'd like to put something about that. It's in the tree ordinance, how we feel about that, and just concerns about it. It's this paragraph right here. But I can, yeah, I'll get with you on that because I can't really clarify right now.
Iris, you can send out an email asking people if, normally like we blind carbon copy people, asking if they have agenda items that they want to put in, and then they can respond to you.
Yeah.
It's just fresh right now.
Okay, sure. I didn't mean to stop you, I just wanted to add
Yeah,
that.
I can do that, and I will. I remember seeing you doing that. Well, wait, am I gonna be installed by next time?
You're installed now. You don't have to be
Installed.
sworn in.
Yeah, you're both in.
Yeah, you're in. There's no, for this board, there's no swearing in or anything. It's an appointment. And as far as the agenda goes, I mean, you can put an agenda item in future agendas to discuss future plans and items for discussion, which is kind of your, vision and goal. But you don't really have an item number 6, so to go off the agenda and say, okay, let's talk about what we want to talk about in the next meetings is off the agenda.
Yeah, we can't
And
really
you
do
probably don't want to do.
And so, as far as talking about, I mean, it says discuss and take appropriate action. Well, we did take inappropriate action in that we're going to start looking at RFPs from different cities.
Correct.
So, is there anything more that we want to discuss, or should I adjourn the meeting? And
She adjourned the meeting.
oh,
Oh, yeah, you wanted to,
oh, doesn't matter. Okay.
both of you together, hand on hand.
Here we
We
go.
don't have to vote on anything?
You have to, well, yeah, you could, move to, ask, alternate board member, visit to, review RFPs on the internet and come back to, at the next meeting of the tree board with recommendations. You can make, that motion is a good motion.
Okay. I'll make that motion. Is you,
That does make it official, you're right. I mean, it really should, I mean,
I'll make.
that's the
motion that
appropriate.
Terry Bissett is going to research, RFPs of other cities and come back with some, ideas for the board to review.
Good to put a timeline on it, too.
Yes,
the next meeting.
with the next meeting.
I
Right,
will email you.
okay.
Seconded by Dorothy.
Uh-huh.
Well, just in a second.
Yeah,
Yes,
Dorothy
Dorothy
did it. Okay. So then you would call for the.
You take. Chairperson Ramos?
Yes.
Board Member McElroy?
Yes.
Board Member Tasian? Board Member Bissett?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Rathke?
Yes.
Now you get a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. Yay, now pass the gavel to you. Okay, well, I think we made some progress. Oh, it's really good. I'll do it on camera. Thank you.